Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page, where I do a daily live stream conversation around the divination cards or the oracle cards that I've drawn from in the morning. So welcome. And today is Sunday, February 3rd, and it's been a crazy kind of weather day around here. It started out, I think we were at 42 degrees this morning, above zero. When I got up this morning, and our high is 42 degrees, and it's foggy up because we still have a whole bunch of snow on the ground, right? And this hasn't really rained. It's kind of been misty out, but not really rain. It's really something to be outside in, let me tell you, because it's kind of like you're not here and you're not there. You're not spring, you're not winter. George loves it, though. The puppy, he loves it out there. He's been spending, long periods of time out there. So welcome. I'm so glad to be with you guys. I'm so happy that you're here with me this afternoon on a Sunday to spend some time together. Appreciate it. And before we start rolling too much with the information, I am going to share and like the broadcast, and I would invite you to do the same. That's very helpful so that other people, other souls can find us much more easier. And, it's kind of like, I always call it kind of like the energy worker or light worker civic duty. Whenever we find a video or a live stream or a post that we really connect with and we share it with others, it helps other people to find us, right? And to enjoy that post or the information be valuable to them. And we also know that Facebook really, really, really likes and shares and comments. And so to be a part of that I'd appreciate it if you do that for us. I'm going to share it over to my news feed just so that my friends know that I'm live streaming and asking them to join. My daily live stream. Please join. There we go. There. Pretty easy. Doesn't take very long. And thanks for the pause in there for us to do that. You know what? I forgot the cards downstairs. Rats. I'm going to have to run downstairs and get that. It's a good thing I'm home and I left them downstairs and I'm not up at the academy doing this live stream. Before I do that, let's check to see who's in the chat. Hey, Rochelle's here. Good afternoon, Rochelle. Good afternoon. I did get your phone message from this morning. Thank you for calling and explaining a few things to me. I appreciate that. Julie's here. Julie Shumway-Hill. Good afternoon to you too, lady. And also Rochelle said she shared. Thank you so much, Rochelle. I do appreciate that. And you do that for us every show, and I do appreciate it. Julie did the same thing. Yay. And so did Pat. Yay. And Pat, I just did that post in the Academy, the closed group, welcoming you to the Academy. I hope you enjoy your time there with us. We share some pretty good information there in the closed group. And we also offer that monthly, it's a free mini class. It's like an hour show, but it's a little bit more specific to information. We try to take a topic and kind of narrow it down to an hour so that we can really get down to the bones of the topic, right? Really concentrated if we can. And I tell you, the spiritual teachers that are part of Star Nations, when I ask them, do you think maybe you could take that topic and do like an hour? It's like a mini, it's like an introduction. And at first they're very excited. It's like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And it's like, wait, it's an hour? It's like, yeah. And so they have to really kind of bring it in. And that is a challenge, especially for a teacher who's been teaching the information for years, right? Because they want to give you it all. And what we try to do is to condense it down, almost like it's concentrated, when you have to add water to it to make it right. So I'm so glad you're at the closed group, Pat. I hope you let us know how much you like it. If you ever have a topic that you would like us to discuss or to share over at the Academy, the closed group on Facebook, just let us know. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's see. I have to go get the cards. I knew I forgot something because, when you're carrying stuff up and you're thinking, wow, this is pretty easy today. Yeah. I had my hands on it and I had it in my hand and I set it down to pick up my coffee. Whoops. So let's see. Let's talk a little bit about, I know what we can talk about before I go get the cards. Rochelle had called me earlier today and had left a message. And you're welcome, Pat. You're very welcome. And she had said something in that message that we have discussed or at least touched on a little bit in the daily live stream. And that is when we see triple numbers. And that is one of the ways that our spiritual team, our guides, our teachers that are in spirit, our angels, our ancestors, our power animals, all those in spirit that are helping us, right, on our spiritual team. It's one of the ways that they can communicate with us, that they can show us, those coincidences. Yeah, right. The synchronicities, those kinds of things. And so Rochelle mentioned it to me again in her message on the phone. And so I thought I would share with you a little something. And I have a document that I took a picture of so we could actually look at it together. I got this information from a book from one of my teachers, Drunvalo Melchizedek. It was one of the books that he wrote in, I want to say it was 2007 or 2008, something like that. Yeah, it was one of the books that started our Sistars book group at first. Two of my really, really good friends had contacted me separately. Said they had read this book by Drunvalo and was wondering what I thought about it. And instead of having two separate conversations, I asked if they wanted to do a phone call. And that was before we did Skype and all of that. And so it's Serpent of Light. And so that was the first time that we actually came together as a group of 6 women to discuss this particular book. And that was, almost 10 years ago. And we still meet once a month. Now, the group has shifted and changed over time, of course. Everything does, right? But this is one of the things that brought us together, and I want to share it with you. This is the triple numbers. The triple numbers. And so you can always download this picture and print it out if you want. I usually keep a copy like in my messenger bag. I also have it on my phone in my notes so that when I'm on the road and I see a triple number, I can always go to my phone and find out what it is. And so one of the numbers that Rochelle had mentioned was triple ones. And the triple one meaning is energy flow, any energy flow, such as electricity, money, water, sexual energy, any kind of energy at all. What you have to do is kind of get quiet for a moment and ask your spiritual team, what energy are you talking about? Ask them, what energy are you referring to? Is it this one? Because, chances are you probably have an idea, right? Your intuition. So ask them, is this about money? Is this about, the relationship energy of any kind of relationship? So you ask them, And that means that's something that you can turn your attention to, right? The triple twos is a new cycle, the beginning of a new cycle, the nature of which depends on the triple number you see, the next one. So with the triple twos, it's the beginning of a new cycle. And so when you see the triple twos, look for the next triple numbers that's going to be presented to you. And that's going to tell you a little bit about what kind of energy is flowing, the beginning of what new cycle, right? Now, these triple numbers, it's another form of numerology. It was brought to us by Alice Bailey decades and decades ago. And you can look her up. She has, there's books. I don't know if they're still in print, but she has books about this. It's one of the things that I really, really resonated with when I read Serpent of Light by Drunvalo Melchizedek. Okay. And he tells about his journey with triple numbers in that book. Yeah. Hey, Mervin's here. Hello, Mervin. Good to have you here. Tina's here too. Hey, Tina. It's always good to have you in the house. We're talking about triple numbers at first, and then I have to run downstairs and grab the cards. I left the cards downstairs. Whoops. It's a good thing I'm broadcasting from home yet, and so that it's easier for me to go down and grab them. But there was Rochelle had called me earlier today and left a phone message, and she had mentioned triple numbers. So that's why we're talking about it. Okay. And here you go, Rochelle. Here's triple threes. And this is the number I've seen quite often, especially in 2017. Okay. And part of 2018. Triple threes. It's about decision making. It says you have a decision to make. The decision will lead to either a triple six, which means that you must repeat the life lesson again in another way. Okay, so it's going to come back around to you, so you have an opportunity to learn that lesson. Or a triple nine, and a triple nine, which means completion and that you've learned the lesson. Okay. So I used to get really excited about seeing triple threes. It's like, yeah, what are we doing now? What are we doing now? And maybe I've actually completed a piece, right? Except in 2017 and early 2018. It's like, no, not triple threes again, not that again. And now things have kind of settled down with triple threes. I don't see them quite as often. And so triple threes to me is more of a very active number. And especially if you haven't learned the lesson and you have another opportunity for it to come back around. Triple fours. Triple fours is the mystery school. It's what is occurring in life is a lesson learning. Okay, so current life, current time, such as reading books or studying a subject, but not actually doing. So you're kind of in the preparatory stage. You're in the learning. Maybe you're taking a class or you found a book that you really resonate with, like Carl's book, Earth's Ascension. And so it's kind of like preparation or validation of what you've already been through. And then once you're done with that, when it feels complete, then you start the application, which brings another layer of learning and, wisdom gaining, right? Here's one of my favorites, triple fives, unity consciousness. This is the number when someone has attained unity consciousness. They have mastered all levels of the mystery school. It's the highest number. It is the number of Christ. And so whenever you see triple fives and you don't know what that is, what did I just complete? Check in with your spiritual team and ask them to show it to you, tell it to you, so that you understand it as best you can, and to ask them, how do I bring this more into my consciousness? Because it's lying there in your subconscious and at your soul level, but how do you bring it into your everyday awareness, right? And it's as whole as possible. Because sometimes our frequency, maybe we need to bring up our frequency to love in order to really bring in that information, right? Okay. Here we go. Triple sixes. Now, depending on your belief system, sixes could freak you out a bit. Okay. In this particular numerology, it is not the sign of the devil. No, it's not. It's about earth consciousness. It says that this is the number of the beast in the Bible, if that's what you believe. So it can represent pure evil depending on your belief system. But it's also the number of mankind and life. Carbon is the base of life, and carbon has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Carbon has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. Generally, when you see this number, it means to watch out for physical events that are presenting themselves to you at this moment, and to be careful. It's really about, say, heads up, right? Heads up. Be very watchful of your environment, of what's going on around you in the physical world, right? So when I see it, when I'm traveling on the road, from one destination to another, oh, Paul's home. You know what that's going to mean? A very loud puppy, and I have got the door open. So hang in there with me. It'll actually quiet down after a while. So it just really means heads up. When I'm on the road traveling, if I see the triple sixes, I'm much more watchful and more attentive in my driving. I'm not carrying a conversation with somebody, especially on the phone, hands-free phone. Yeah, I'm just more attentive. Triple sevens, the mystery school. This is the part of the mystery school where you're just not learning from books, but about life. You're actually putting it into practice. So it could actually end up in your daily life. It certainly will end up in whatever practice that you may have, a healing practice or a spiritual practice of some sort. Okay? Wouldn't that be nice, Julie? I'm better off asking Paul to bring it up. Bringing it upstairs. Oh my gosh. I could actually do that. I could actually send him a text message. Hang on. Let me do that. If he has his phone. And dark blue. Oops. You have to spell. And I have to tell him where it is. Okay. There you go. Let's see if he gets it. I don't know if he's going to have his phone. I'll finish up the numbers, and if he doesn't bring it upstairs, I'll run down and get it. Okay, so we're at triple sevens. So triple sevens is that you're finished reading the books. You've gotten all your notes from the spiritual class that you've taken, and now it's about application. It's all about how do you work with it in your life, in the physical world. So it could end up in your daily life, right? Depending on what it is. It certainly could end up in your practice, whether you're a spiritual teacher or if you're a healer of some sort, and you're working with clients or students. It could certainly be there, but this is about application. And when you do application, what are you doing? You're gaining experience, right? Yeah. All right. So, and triple eights, completion of a particular lesson with the mystery school. So you could be, for instance, when I had the dream about the Merkaba, right, and sacred geometry, I read about it. I took a couple classes, and then I started the application piece. But I had more to it than that. I actually had to start teaching it, and I had to activate my Merkaba. Yeah. So it's about It's a particular lesson. It's a particular item within that, and that you're getting instruction from your spiritual team to take it that one step further, right? That it becomes a really point of a life lesson. Yeah. And triple nines, everybody likes triple nines. It's about completion. It's a completion about a cycle or an event. So if you've been, working on healing a situation, whether it's a trauma of some sort, mental or emotional, and you've been working at it for a while, and you start seeing triple nines, ask your team. Ask your team, is this about the healing? Is this completion of the healing? You can even use your pendulum and dowse on it and see, right? Okay. So Mervyn said, I've heard that a triple six for the devil may have been a mistranslation. And the number was really 667. Only seen it from one source, so I can't verify it currently. Yeah. We have, depending on your belief system, we have a lot of those with numbers like number 13, right? It's supposed to be an unlucky number, that even hotels will skip over the number 13. They'll go from room 11 to room 12, or from floor 11 to, 12 to 14, right? And that sort of thing. So from 12 to 14 and skip number 13. Yeah. It depends on your belief system. And, in number four is another one. In Chinese feng shui, you stay away from triple fours or anything with a four, because in their language, the word for four sounds a lot like death, and so they it's a bad luck, and so they stay away from that. Whereas in my culture, triple fours is like, hey, that is great. It's even better if it's a quadruple four. Just four in general, it's a sacred number. So it really depends on your culture. And if you find that it really freaks you out, and as back in the day we'd say it'd wig you out, then you have to really look at it. You have to think, why am my emotion around it so strong? What is it about that? And so you can take a closer look at it, and maybe you've got some healing around it. Yeah, see, and it didn't bother you, did it, Rochelle? It was 1313. Yeah, it's like the Munsters. Do you remember that old TV show, The Munsters? 1313 Mockingbird Lane. Yeah. All right, I don't think Paul got the message, so I am going to run downstairs. It's only going to take me less than a minute. It's not that far. And so hum to yourself a little segue music. Or talk about the Munsters and the number 13. Do you remember their staircase used to open up and their dragon lived underneath their stairwell? Yeah. Okay. I will be right back. Hum to yourself a little segue music, okay? I'm back. Here we go. All right. Back there. What'd I miss? Mervyn saying, Friday the 13th considered unlucky because Jesus was crucified on Friday, and there were 13 at the Last Supper. Yeah. I know. I got married on October 13th. So there's occasions, certain years, where our anniversary falls on a Friday the 13th. And for me, it's not a bad thing. Rochelle says, when I see the triple numbers, I just laugh. Yeah, but now you have an idea that you can understand at least a little bit more about the numbers that you're seeing, Rochelle, right? Because spirit is conversing with you. They're showing you something, right? And so now you have a way to better understand what they're trying to show you. And you can also ask them about it. And I don't remember if you're a dowser or not, but if you are, you can even use your pendulum to ask yes, no questions to get a better understanding, right? Just have a conversation with them. Or ask them to show you the next thing that to verify what you're thinking about. Got to close the door now. Jeez. I'm not complaining about the noise at all because Paul's doing the dishes. Shh. Yay. Yay. Any help I can get in that regard, I'm grateful for. Rochelle saying the church slaughtered the Knights of Templar on October 13th, Friday. Yeah. See, doesn't it really boil down to what is it that you believe? And if that belief is something that supports you. Yeah. I have to say, I've never had bad luck, especially on Friday the 13th, because I equate it to my marriage. And Paul and I have been together for 40 years. So it's all good. It's all good. Oh, here's a good one. Yay, Mervyn. The fear of the number 13 is called triskaidekaphobia. Huh. That's a hard word to say. But of course, the English language, we have it, don't we? It probably doesn't come from English. It probably comes from Latin. All right, so I just wanted to show everybody this. For those who may not know that we're using a new deck of cards, this is the Druid Animal Oracle deck by Philip and Stephanie Cargome. And they're from England, and it's obviously about Druidry. It's a brand new deck that we just started. And this is the third day because we started on St. Bridget's Day, February 1st. Okay. And this has been around for a while. Copyright is 1996 in Great Britain. The text was copyrighted to the Cargomes in 1994. So, this actually has some traction, right? Which means that it's been around a while, and we have the opportunity to bring it even closer into more modern day. Because doesn't the 90s feel like it was another generation ago? Well, for some people it probably is. But those of us remember the 90s quite well. Yeah. So this is our third day with a brand new deck. And this morning when I was doing the card draw, I was thinking about, all the stuff that I've recently learned about Druidry. And thank you to Mervyn. Thank you. And also sharing Philip's live stream that he does. I looks like it's on an actual schedule. It looks like to me. I've only caught it maybe twice. I've seen it more than that, but I've actually slowed down enough to actually listen to it and have it playing, right? And so, yeah, me too, Mervyn. He says I like 13. So do I. So, because in numerology, when you bring a triple number, except for master numbers, down to a single digit, that's a 4. And for me, 4 is a great number, right? Yeah, the 4 directions, the 4 elements. And now that we're adding the 5th element from the Mayan elders, and they're adding ether. which is what you find in the Platonic solids. The dodecahedron represents the void or ether. Spirit is the fifth element. Yeah. Okay, here's the first card that came today, and we only get one card today. So this is it. This is Hawk. Hawk. Yeah. Yeah. Look at that artistry on that hawk. Those eyes, piercing, I would say. Having hawk eyes, right? Very keen eyesight. Yeah. And he's in an elevated situation. He's up on, it looks like on a cliff of sorts. So he's got a better view. And there's one in flight. And we have two fires below. Now it looks like it's the ocean in the background, far in the distance, right? At the horizon. Yeah. A lot of detail in here. Of course, then you also have the edges in the OM language, the language of the Druids, right? Yeah. Very fascinating. Fascinating. Yeah, Rochelle said, "What are the fires on the water?" Yeah, it looks like it's on a beach, and the ocean. I'll see if I can get it in there. Is a little bit further away. The water. And chances are, there's also information, I would say, in the smoke coming from the fires. Right? All right, so we're going to take a look at Hawk 42. Page 42. All right, so we're going to learn a little language here from the Gaelic as well. So hawk is the English word, right? And let's see if I can pronounce this. Seabhac. Did I do that right, Mervyn? Seabhac? Because it looks like Seabhac, but it's not. It's Seabhac. It means hawk. And the words associated with it is nobility, recollection, and cleansing. Nobility, recollection, and cleansing. Yeah. Julie is saying, is that a cup carved in the stone on the cliff in front of the hawk? It does look like it, doesn't it? I'm going to hold it a little bit closer to, let's see, if we can get it to the camera. It's over near the edge. And it does look like that. It could be, reminds me maybe of the Holy Grail, that they might refer to that. I don't know if you can see it. The camera, if it will focus on it. It might be too close. Yeah. Let's see if I can get it on my phone. And see what it looks like. Yep. The camera is just not focusing very well. Rats. But it does, Julie. It does look like some sort of cup that's etched into the stone. And it would be just like to the left of the fire, up on the cliff there. Yeah. Good eyesight. Good eye, as they say. Eagle eye. And Tina's saying sky and earth colors on hawk. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. So what would that mean to us, right? About balance. About balance. And the coming together of grandmother and grandfather, grandmother earth and grandfather sky. And also this particular hawk is grounded, right? He's on what looks like maybe a tree. Yeah. And maybe even balancing male and female energies. The sacred, divine, right? Divine feminine, divine masculine. And you also have the one in flight. The one in flight. In a kind of a cloudy sky. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Julie saying the Holy Grail is what I first thought of too. Me too. Me too. The one etched must be the message to decipher. You think? Maybe. Could be. I think it depends on what you resonated first with. What did you notice first in the card when you first looked at it? Right? What were you drawn to? And then as I move the card closer to you and really looking at, because I think we were looking at the fire and the ocean in the background, weren't we? When Julie saw the cup. Yeah. So hawk or Seabhac. All right. All right. So the first thing that Tina saw, oh, yep, get the elements there too. And Rochelle says the first thing she saw was the fire in the background. Right. And Tina said she saw the sunflower. Yeah. Hey, Annie. She says in Greek mythology, fires on a beach represent Hercules, who was the god of borders ish. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing that, Anne. Oh, my son's comment. Well, thank you for us, okay? Because that is a good insight. Information that we can add to the understanding of the essence of the card, right? And considering that that's in the background, right? And the hawk is looking away from it. You might say that the hawk is maybe looking into a certain direction, right? And the words that come with the card is nobility, recollection, and cleansing. Recollection and cleansing. The author says the card shows a merlin, that's the name of the hawk, the smallest of the hawks, perched on a cliff above a beach on which burned 2 Beltana fires. It is dawn, and in the foreground to the left, hawk's beard is growing. To the hawk's left is hawk's beard, with common hawkbit to the right. 2 different plants. The hawk's mate, a female merlin, flies high above the beach. It's okay. George just came in. It's all right. He'll just go to sleep. It's because I haven't. You got the message just a bit late. But thanks for trying to help. You may as well leave the door open because George may want to leave at some point. Like right now. All right. So, whoops. The hawk's mate is flying high above the beach. And the fires in the background are ceremonial fires celebrating Beltana or Beltane. And Beltana is one of the major ceremonies that's acknowledged. Right? The Seabhac brings the ability to see your life in perspective, to free you from unnecessary baggage, and to connect you to your ancestral roots. So perhaps your ancestral roots are represented by the fire. And notice why two? Why two fires, right? Two is co-creation, cooperation, male female maybe, the duality, I don't know. Perhaps your ancestral background is in that cup that's etched in the cliff. Maybe your ancestors were botanists. Maybe they were herbalists, they were healers. Okay, so see if you can take some time out of your daily routine to survey your life calmly and see events in context. The haunt can help you to recollect the missing pieces of the jigsaw you will be trying to assemble, and he'll help to spot the details which are significant. When you have a sense of your roots and of the breadth of your life, you will start to feel pride and a growing sense of nobility and stature. Once you know where you have come from and where you are going, your life will be filled with inspiration and enthusiasm, and you will sense a new day dawning. You'll be able to make decisions with confidence. All right, so if you're talking about your ancestral roots, so our ancestors who may have used ceremony is depicted in the background. A fire ceremony. Whether you're Celtic or Viking or Native American or Hispanic, African, we all used fire somehow in our ceremonies. Our ancestors in the background. And perhaps the hawk is looking forward from the present moment as we bring forward those items from our ancestors that are helpful to both our present and our future. Yeah. And perhaps taking in Anne's son's information that he brings to us about the borders, Hercules, the god of borders, right, is that the fire are near the border. So maybe even going even further into history, into your ancestral history, even if you don't know who your ancestors were, right? You still carry their wisdom and also the historical trauma in your blood and your bones. Yeah. Pat is saying that she was drawn to the hawk's eyes. Me too. Me too. Like I said, piercing eyes. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Annie. And so, yeah, so much going on in this picture, isn't there? So much information that we can draw on it to understand our present. Because remember, the author of the deck says these cards are not about prediction. They're about understanding our present and how our present can affect our future, because we're creating our future, right? So if you know more about your ancestry, if you know where your people came from, doesn't mean that you have to know your 13th generation great grandmother or even your grandmother for that matter, but to understand where your DNA comes from, because that's what you're carrying with you, right? And how can it help you today? Because what good does it do, right? If you don't know about it consciously, subconsciously, it might be carrying quite a an importance in your life, and knowing more about it or understanding it a little bit deeper from another perspective may be helpful to you. Yeah. And saying, to be more specific, he was the god of the gateway to the Mediterranean Strait of Gibraltar. Yep, really loosely connected, but figured I'd say it. Why not? Because it came to you, right? And that's what we're having here is a spiritual conversation, or as I like to joke around, is a spiritual conversation, a spirit, and a conversation about spirit, right? And why not? If it came to you, that must mean something. It must mean something to you and mean something to your son. And who knows, maybe what you shared actually was able to touch someone in the live chat right now, or somebody that will be listening or watching in the recorded, right? Yeah. Rochelle is saying that card has a lot of energy around it. It certainly does. It certainly does. So let's see what else the author has to say about this. All right. He says, in the Druid tradition, an inspired bard was said to possess bird's knowledge. Druid shamans would dress in cloaks of bird feathers to perform certain ceremonies, and divination would be practiced by observing the flight of birds. In trance, the druid would enlist the aid of his bird spirit ally to fly into other realms, or would transform himself into a bird on the inner planes to accomplish a certain task. Each type of bird represents different qualities, evokes different experiences, and has different gifts for the druid, such as the eagle brings renewal, the wren, humility, the swan, grace, the raven, initiation. The hawk also brings nobility, stature, dignity, and pride. The hawk has long been associated with chivalry and nobility. Hawks were used for sport by the privileged from the earliest days, and by medieval times, the hierarchy of birds had been established. The merlin, the smallest hawk, was used by ladies, while the sparrowhawk was used by the priest. The sparrowhawk used by the priest. That's interesting. And yes, Julie, there's a piece in here about the search for the Grail. It says that we see evidence of the connection between chivalry and the hawk in Welsh tradition. There was gifts of horses, greyhounds, and hawks with the king of Anwen, the other world. King Arthur's nephew, Gawain, who challenged the Green Knight, is called in Welsh, oh, I can't pronounce it, sorry, but it means the hawk of May. Okay, so when is Beltane? When is Beltane? Mervyn, if you're still in the chat, could you share a little bit about how Druidry connects with Beltane? Okay, I think that'd be interesting. Says the quest for the Grail, for healing, completion, illumination, leads back to the source of all things. Traveling into our past, exploring our myths and traditions, leads us to discover that we are far richer than we were ever supposed. We discover our heritage, our roots, and the ancestral wisdom that still lives within our psyches and in our culture. The hawk is a symbol of both the dawn and the freshness that a new day brings, and of the power of recollection, which enables the seeker to travel back through the pathways of time to discover their heritage and their birthright. So we can look at that in a very physical sense, right? The physical world and our physical connection to our ancestors, but we can also look at it from our spiritual aspect, our spiritual body. And we have ancestry with that. How do our ancestors help us from spirit? And most of us come from a different star. And so how do our ancestors from the star beings, how do they help us? See, it depends on our perspective, doesn't it? And how deep we can go with it. And so the Grail really does have something to do with the intent, right, of this card. The Holy Grail. What are you searching for? Especially in the context of your ancestry, of your past, what your ancestors can bring to you through their wisdom. And like I said, it doesn't mean that you have to know them, know exactly who they are, but who were they? What continent were they from? Right? What were their history like? What were their lives like? Yeah. Julie says Beltana is the Celtic celebration for the beginning of summer. Yeah. Hey, there it is. It's the third of the spring festivals at the beginning of May. All right. So, and we're talking about fresh starts, the new day, right? And so what is spring? Spring is about the new year, right? The newness, the starting again, the beginning. It's on the medicine wheel, it's about infancy. We've been born. We're just starting out our life. Yeah. Anne says, I'm searching for summer. We have 40 degrees here, Anne. I think we could almost say we have a spring day today. Tomorrow could be different. Tomorrow we could be back in the deep freeze, but today it's 40 degrees. Actually, 42 to be exact. All right, so I'm going to ask it again. The intention of the card draw, right, is what is the energy flowing today that's most important for us to know about for our highest good and the highest good of all? So what is this card bringing to us today? What's important for us to know about? Depending on what part of the card first drew you in, start there. And so for me, it was the hawk's eyes. And the essence of the card is about that recollection. Remembering about what who our ancestors are, what they bring to us, what kind of wisdom. And the Beltana ceremonies, those are ancient. They go back thousands of years. Or as the Irish say, thousands and thousands of years. So how can we bring that wisdom of our ancestors to us in the present day? And how can it affect our future? What kind of creation, what kind of life can we create using that information? In that keen eyesight. That's what I see. But yours could be completely different depending on what drew you in. What drew you in? Yeah. Mervyn is saying there are fire dances and fire jumping during the ceremony. Yeah. Jumping through the fire, over the fire, right? Is that the one where they would run the cattle through the fire? Is that the ceremony? Really? No. How many times can we be interrupted today? I don't know. That was a client calling on a Sunday. Yeah, well. Okay, so, and this author has a lot to say about the hawk, I have to tell you, a lot. He says that the hawk is a powerful ally in this quest. According to the Irish tradition, the hawk is one of the oldest animals in the world, and that he actually shares some information in the story with an eagle. And the eagle is trying to find, is this true? Is this true? And it has to go to the salmon, which is, they're thinking the salmon is the wisest and the oldest. And the salmon tells the story about how the hawk was there and took his eyes, and telling the eagle that, I think that the bird that's in your nest, because it was supposed to be the coldest day that anybody could remember. And this hawk, who was posing as one of the eagle's babies so he could get some food and be warm, basically told the eagle that this was not the coldest day, that he could remember one a little bit colder, and then it happened thousands of years ago. And so the eagle didn't believe until he talked to the salmon. And it says that their ability to, let's see, the story of the hawk in Akil reminds us that the hawks are powerful and potentially dangerous birds. Even the smallest of them, a merlin, can kill a partridge with one pounce. They will commonly feed on rats, hares, rabbits, and mice. And one type of hawk, the magnificent kite, often mentioned in Celtic poetry and proverbs, could frequently be seen in the old days helping to clear the towns and villages of garbage as it scavenged among the offal and the carrion. And so they help to get things cleaned up too. So this hawk is, if you have, does anybody have hawk as a power animal? It doesn't matter if it's a hawk that looks like this, but hawk, like red-tailed hawk or sparrow hawk or hawk. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of us do. Because usually red-tailed hawk is probably the most prevalent, right? So when you're looking and searching for how this card, what it means to you, if you have hawk as a power animal or a totem, ask that bird that's in your spiritual committee to help you understand it, to bring that information that's most important for you to know about today, and to help you to understand it as best you can. Optimally is a good word. And optimally. Yeah. And let's see. I just gotta scroll a little bit here. All right. And so Mervyn would say fertility is the main aspect of the festival. Yeah, and they do mention in the writing about sexual energy. Yeah. Fertility. Creation, right? Creation. That co-creation. Yeah. And Anne is saying we need to remember and reflect on our past, as that will help us better the well-being of the generations to come. That's a good one. That's a good one for you, Anne. Definitely. Mervyn says, and yes, Julie is correct that it's also marks the beginning of summer. Yay. Summer. Julie says, I believe I have hawk as a power animal, especially if you see them a lot. If you see them a lot, in flight or sitting on a power pole or something like that, whenever you see them, this is what I do. I take a big deep breath in and I kind of, bring myself together, right? And I thank the hawk for coming to me. And do you have a message? Do you have a message for me? And then I listen. Yeah. And sometimes it's best that you actually are in your heart when you ask that, because you can hear the message a little bit clearer. At least that way, it's that way for me. Anne is saying, would the Persian beliefs of the hawk be able to be tied to Druid and Celtic beliefs? It's a possibility. It's a possibility. Those Druids traveled a lot. And a lot of people came to see the Druids too. So it's a possibility. The one to ask would be Mervyn Kelly. And we were saying, I'm thinking hawk was one of my team. I've seen so many recently. Yeah, I do believe. I know for sure that red tail is one of mine, for sure. Yeah. This card was very interesting, don't you think? And so for those of us that are going to take the time and the energy to reflect, to recollect, better word, the word they used, to do the recollection, right? And if you don't know who your ancestors are, we covered this yesterday when Julie Hedges asked the question. And I had said something like, it doesn't, I don't think it means that you have to know their names and where they lived. You don't need the family tree. What you need is what DNA do you carry? And there's things out there now that can help us to determine that without having to go to a clinic or a hospital to get blood drawn or to get your mouth swabbed, right? So, there's 23andMe, and there's also Ancestry.com, and there's probably others as well. And so if you really, really want to know, that's one of the steps that you can take to find out. And then start your research. And it's kind of like those numbers that we started out in the very beginning, right? So in the mystery school, the 444s, it's all about reading. It's all about research. It's all about finding out information, taking it in, being that sponge. And then the 777s was about application. And so, applying some of the things that you've read about. And then the 888s was an actual, like a mission. It's like that vision quest. It's like that paradisus. It's that spiritual journey that we take to find out more information about something very specific. That's the 888s. And the 999s is completing that journey, that information. Yeah. So very interesting stuff. I love it. I love the spiritual conversation. And Mervyn, before I know we're at the top of the hour, but since you are in the chat, what does the OM, I hope I pronounced that right, message on the edge of the card? What does this one say? And more importantly, how do I figure out what that says along the edges? Just in case you're not around and I can't ask you that. Okay, so as we wait for Mervyn to see if he knows what that message is, I say this just about every day, right? Is whatever resonated with you in the information that was shared today, my suggestion is that you embrace it and watch, see, sense, feel how the energy is unfolding for you today and where this information comes into play. Is it useful and helpful to you in that unfolding of that information? And whether or not you're a direct participant or if you are a witness to it, right? Makes a difference, but both are good because either way you're learning something. And if it didn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. It's okay. No worries. No worries at all. It doesn't have to resonate with you. You can just let it lie, and maybe tomorrow's information will resonate with you. Or perhaps you're only a messenger, and you can share the recorded link to maybe a friend who's searching for information, right? Or enjoys this kind of conversation. And that's all you have to do is share it, and then you're done. Yeah. So Anne is saying, my son has a conspiracy with 23andMe. He believes that they're looking for someone with very specific genes and origin, maybe Knights Templar and aliens. Well, that's a possibility, It took me a while to do the Ancestry.com one. Paul and I did that as a Christmas gift to each other, and it wasn't so much to find out, the family tree kind of stuff, but really he wanted to find out really about, the DNA piece. And I wanted to use it to work with Bob Huntington about dirty genes. And so that's why we did it. But it took me a while because I know that there's parts of certain governmental agencies who really like to examine Native American blood. And so DNA. And so it took me a while. And so I had to face that fear. What was really there? What's really there underneath that? And get to the root of it. And so that's what I did. And I realized that fear is really something that goes back to generations of my people that were taken to reservations and healing some of that historical trauma. That's what mine led to. So, it's a good kind of indicator that something needs to be looked at. Yeah. All right. So, what's coming up for Star Nations this week? And that is, I got to think for a second. We got kind of a very interesting week because Polly Joe's on vacation. Yay for Polly Joe. So there's, for her shows, Chakra Sessions on Tuesday at noon Eastern and Soul Connections on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern are going to be replays. Okay. Recorded shows, live stream shows. The one on Tuesday for Chakra Sessions, I chose one from last February where she shares about, oh my God, I knew this one. It's about relationships, about money, and there was something else in it, but it was the most watched recorded show. And so I thought for those who hadn't seen it yet, that maybe you enjoy the information and the healing meditation that goes with it. And then for Soul Connections, I chose her very first Soul Connections live stream show. For those of you that don't know how that show got started, I thought you'd like to have the background, the backstory to it, right? And it's a really good meditation too. So yeah, there's that. And then my show on Tuesday night, Communications from Home at 8 Eastern. My guest is Ed Langdon, and he is one of our newest live stream show hosts and contributing writers. And so I thought you guys would like to get to know Ed a little bit better and what he's going to bring to both his show and to his column, and how that might be able to be helpful to you. Okay, so join me 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. Yeah. All right. Ann is saying he also has another very long one. I guess tell me if you'd like to hear it. Do it a PM for me, okay? Send it to me in a PM, and I'd love to read it. All right. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow, Monday, for tomorrow's live stream, daily live stream, and card draw information. All right. Bama Mina, that is in Potawatomi, until we see each other again. I love you guys.